Audi proves that for the moment it also remains committed to combustion power, at least with this car, the rejuvenated C9 generation A6 Avant. It's not the most practical large premium badged estate you could choose, but it's the sleekest, possibly the smartest, and certainly the nicest to sit in. My name is Jonathan Crouch. I've been testing cars for over 40 years. You'll find them all on the Car and Driving Car Reviews app. Here, I'm going to try and tell you everything that you really need to know about this car in a way that you'll find nowhere else. Audi's realised that many of those wanting a big executive class estate don't want an EV, so has rejuvenated its big A6 Avant estate to create the 6th generation C9 era model that we're going to look at here. Now, you might not expect one of the most aerodynamic combustion models Audi has ever made to be a big A6 Avant estate, but perhaps you should. Slippery bodywork has always been a calling card of this model line. The very first C4 series version of 1994 was a rebadged version of the most slippery big car of the 80s and 90s, the Audi 100. And the first bespoke design with an A6 badge, the C5 series model of 1997, set another new standard for how slippery a big estate could be. Its successors, the C6 design of 2004, the C7 model of 2011, and this current car's predecessor, the C8 design of 2018, continued the trend of form over function. Customers could fit much more in a rival Mercedes E-Class estate, but the A6 Avant always vastly outsold that model in our market, whilst also trumping the other big segment player, BMW's 5 Series Touring. This C9 generation model, announced in early 2025, was originally supposed to switch to A7 badging so as not to cause confusion with the all-electric A6 e-tron launched in 2024. But a last-minute change of policy by Audi saw this combustion model keep the A6 moniker. It's still offered in diesel form as well as in petrol guise. It'll actually be one of the last diesel models Audi will ever launch. And there's a saloon version too. But here, our focus is on the Avant. Now, you can find out more about this kind of estate by downloading the Car and Driving Car Reviews app. And if you're interested specifically in this A6 Avant, you'll need to stay with us for the industry's most comprehensive car review, the Car and Driving Road Test. There's something of a Back to the Future feel here. For years with the A6, Audi has been trying to match the sharply responding feel of rival rear-driven BMW 5 Series or Mercedes E-Class models, which, let's be honest, it was never going to do with a fundamentally front-driven platformed car. With this C9 era A6, though, the emphasis has returned to something that Ingolstadt is properly good at: exemplary refinement through super sleek aerodynamics, which is just as it was in the very first A6 of 1994, a rebadged version of the sleekest executive car of the 1990s, the C4 era Audi 100. This is a much better selling point for the brand to aim at, thanks to a huge 30% improvement in refinement over the previous generation model. No other rival in the segment is quieter, and as you can imagine, an awful lot of engineering effort's gone into achieving that result, including special acoustic glass and noise-absorbing foam rings in the tyres. Even if you opt for the diesel version we're trying here, you'll struggle to hear the engine in front of you once underway. Can you hear that? No, I can't either. You might be surprised that there's a diesel offered at all. Rivals BMW no longer sell such a thing in this segment, but this A6 shamelessly continues to celebrate the black pump. Indeed, Audi reserves arguably its most sophisticated engine tech for this TDI version, which uses the company's usual 4-cylinder 2-litre unit. As with the Q5 and the A5 Avant, this means installation of the brand's MHEV Plus system, which offers a big step forward from Ingolstadt's previous mild hybrid technology. For one thing, it uses a much bigger e-motor, providing 24 PS and 230 Nm of torque. For another, it acts as more than just a starter generator, also able to drive the car on its own at parking speeds. Plus, using a brake-by-wire setup, the system can also regenerate energy at up to 25 kilowatts, so the compact lithium-ion battery will always be topped up. Another trait of the MHEV Plus system is the way that it primarily slows the car using brake regen. The friction brakes only kick in when the brake pedal is pressed harder. As we said, the 2-litre TDI unit in question is a familiar one, and the Quattro four-wheel drive system it must be paired with is familiar too. Total output is 204 PS, which is the same as the alternative 4-cylinder engine on offer, the 2-litre TFSI petrol, which uses the brand's usual 7-speed S-tronic auto transmission. That base green pump model can only be front driven and make 62 mph in 8.3 seconds en route to 144 miles an hour, respectively 1.3 seconds and 5 miles an hour slower than the diesel. You'll certainly want this black pump fueled model if you want to tow. Thanks to 400 newton meters of torque, that's 60 newton meters more than the petrol, it can lug along up to 2,000 kilograms. Sadly, there'll be no all-road SUV-themed version this time round. Another disappointment is that the UK won't get the creamy smooth 3-litre V6 powertrains offered on the continent. Audi's reserving those for S6 and RS6 models. Across the A6 lineup, Audi claims drive dynamics have been improved with this C9 era design. To that end, there's a stiffer torsion bar, stiffer control arm bushings, and increased front camber. All of this is supposed to improve response from the more rigid variable ratio progressive steering rack and offer more road feedback, but the helm here still isn't especially feelsome. A more fundamental aid to handling is the stiffer new PPC, or Premium Platform Combustion chassis, this 6th generation model sits upon. This can take an all-wheel steering setup, we've actually got it fitted here, offering an extra 5 degrees of rear steer, but at the time of our test, Audi UK was telling us that this system wouldn't be offered even as an option on UK-bound A6s. The adaptive air suspension system we've also been trying here will be equally rare, but will be available to add with top-spec trim. Now, we were a little surprised to find that this Audi rather needed it over poorer surfaces and speed humps, especially with the kind of large rim size that's been fitted to this test car. The suspension setups most UK A6 Avant models will have are both of the passive sort. The standard spec you get with sport trim, or the firmer lowered sport suspension fitted to other models. With these, the damping doesn't alter as you scroll through the various drive select modes: comfort, efficiency, dynamic and individual, which isn't ideal across the lumps and bumps of a typical British high street, an environment in which this Audi feels all of its 5-metre length. Beyond the city limits, it shrinks around you a bit more, but this always feels a very grown-up kind of estate car. This is by far the most dynamic looking A6 Avant there's ever been. With its lower roofline and pumped up wheel arches, even an entry-level variant of this C9 era design appears to have an S6 style vibe. Aerodynamics have been thoroughly prioritised over practicality, resulting in a low drag coefficient of just 0.25 CD, which is the sleekest figure Audi has ever achieved with a combustion-powered estate car. So it's just as well that the 4,990mm body length is a full 60mm longer than the previous C8 series model. Now, as usual with an Audi estate, there are neat touches: slim black lower side sills, subtle roof rails, and the model name on the glossy black B-pillar. The aerodynamically optimised diamond-cut aluminium wheel choices start at 18 inches and run right up to the big 21-inch rims we have here. Go for a 19-inch rim or larger and the wheel will be fitted with a noise absorber, a foam ring on the inside of the tyre that reduces air vibrations. There are loads of lovely details like that on this car. The front end borrows cues from the A6 e-tron and the e-tron GT, with the familiar Audi rings moved from the enormous grille up to the bonnet, and the LED matrix headlights placed higher and wider across the swept back sculpted nose. These sculpted gloss black corner cutouts incorporate narrow air curtain slots, and the aerodynamics are further aided by two separately controllable cool air intakes behind the single frame radiator grille, which ensure optimized airflow around the engine bay. At the sculpted rear, you might at first think that the brand has avoided the current fashion for full-width rear light bars, but on closer inspection, there's still a slim illuminated LED strip running below the Audi rings to emphasize the 1,880mm body width. In this case, the tail lamp clusters have super bright OLED panels. Above is a subtle roof spoiler. Below is a twin-ribbed lower bumper section with twin square exhausts off to the left. Of more importance, of course, is what you can't see, the PPC or premium platform combustion architecture this car shares with the current Q5 SUV. This will probably be one of the industry's very last purpose-designed combustion chassis platforms. As well as this key fob, there's a standard digital key setup, so if you want, you can open the car from your smartphone and grasp the touch-sensitive door handle to take a seat inside. Where Audi serves up the most premium feeling cabin in the segment, its architecture similar to recent models like the A6 e-tron, the Q6 e-tron and the Q5, all developed at much the same time, which means a huge central fascia panel called the digital stage that houses an 11.9-inch instrument screen and a 14.5-inch central infotainment monitor in a single curved housing. There's no lower center stack screen as in the old model, but with top trim you get the optional 10.9-inch passenger side display we have fitted here. Most owners will tick the box for this dash top dynamic interaction light, a thin illuminated strip that runs along the base of the windscreen and flickers green at each end when the indicators are selected. As long as you don't mind shiny black trimming, you should feel it to be all quite high-end, with high-quality soft touch finishes, double stitching for the dash top and leather-like materials wherever you look. It's all slightly nicer than the cabin of a rival BMW and definitely a step up in quality from a Mercedes E-Class. Not everything pleases, mind you, like the over-prominent unlidded central cup holders, the fiddly haptic steering wheel touch buttons and the way the glossy center console finishing will quickly scratch against things like watches and bracelets. Also uncovered is the area at the base of the center stack where Audi's added a twin smartphone charging mat, and it's ridiculous that you have to pay extra for USB-C ports with a decently powerful output. But we're pleased to see the retention of some proper physical controls around the dashboard, and if you can spend more, you'll get some lovely tech touches. These beautifully integrated Bang & Olufsen speakers that blend seamlessly into the doors, and this dynamic sunroof which can be switched between translucent and clear and also has an interim slatted pergola mode. As we've said, when testing all the current Audis that use this 11.9-inch Virtual Cockpit Plus instrument display, we think it's a bit of a step backwards from the previous Virtual Cockpit layout. You can no longer select a viewing option with full screen mapping. You can't get rid of this center 3D car graphic, whatever viewing option you choose. And there's no proper rev counter unless you select sport mode. Still, apart from that, it's a clearly configured setup. Chinese brands in particular take note. On the far left is an area for selectable trip data readings. And on the far right, you can select audio, phone or nav options, with a fuel readout and an MPG meter along the display's bottom frame. Everything else you'll need is on this OLED touch high-resolution center screen. This curved Android Automotive OS-based setup is a product of the brand's newly developed electronic architecture E3 tech, which is supposed to allow customers to experience vehicle digitalization more directly than was ever possible in an Audi before. Much of this 14.5-inch screen's real estate is taken up by permanently displaying functions, climate controls along the bottom, and 2 rows of shortcut features to the right. You can decide how to populate the rest of this space. We've got radio settings and mapping for the 3D navigation system here. Swipe left for an analog clock, drive select settings and phone functions. We're thankful for a physical volume knob too. Drill down into what's on offer with this curved monitor and it's all very advanced. You get wondrous graphics and there's a self-learning Audi voice assistant used to control numerous vehicle functions, which understands more than 800 voice commands. Plus there's Alexa functionality, regular over-the-air updates, a wireless smartphone interface, and a store section that gives customers access to a wide range of apps. This is basically a new era of infotainment provision, with features like a web browser that could, for instance, allow your passenger to reserve a hotel room for you through booking.com as you drive to your destination. One of the relatively few useful things that you could do with this otherwise rather pointless passenger side screen. What else? The seats are well padded and comfortable with heating and four-way lumbar support. As usual on modern Audis, quite a few functions have been moved onto this glossy black control panel on the driver's door, like lights, locks and seat settings. There's not a massive amount of cabin storage space because the door pockets and glove box aren't massive, and the lidded centre bin is shallow. It has a pen tray just in front and there's the usual ticket clip in the sun visor. With slim front pillars and a low dashboard and bonnet, your forward view is pretty good, and the large side windows and rear pillars that aren't too thick make your over-the-shoulder vision fine too. Time to take a look in the rear. You'd hope the extra body length would help here. But that doesn't take into account the fact that this car's 2,927mm wheelbase length is shorter than both a rival BMW 5 Series and a Mercedes E-Class. And you feel that back here, where the 700mm knee room figure is 40mm less than the BMW and 90mm less than the Mercedes. Despite that, even a lanky passenger stuck behind a tall driver will have pretty decent legroom back here, and the swept back roofline doesn't seem to compromise headspace too much. Predictably though, it's a different world from the flat-floored A6 e-tron Avant. Instead, the PPC platform seems to depend on this enormous central transmission tunnel, which would make it difficult for even a child to sit in the middle, let alone an adult. There's a rear climate control panel on all models, and a particularly detailed one if you've got this top-end 4-zone system fitted. If you've got the huge panoramic glass roof fitted, which stretches back almost behind your head, it feels really airy back here, aided by large rear quarter-light windows. All the expected detail stuff is covered off, netted seat back pockets, twin central USB-C ports near the twin vents, double overhead reading lights on each side, an armrest with cup holders, decently sized door bins, and a coat hook and a vent on each B-pillar. Unfortunately, the backrest doesn't recline, and unlike in a Q5, the base can't be spec'd to slide. Let's finish with a proper look at this A6 Avant's business end. As you'd expect for the money, the powered tailgate has a kick function, but in this case, rather than flapping around stupidly with your foot, wondering where to position it, there's a projection light to helpfully indicate where to position your shoe. Once the hatch has raised, it's time to survey just how much all that aero emphasis has cost you in terms of practicality with this C9 era design. Quite a lot is the answer. The 503 litre boot size, just 11 litres more than you'd get with the A6 Saloon, is 62 litres down on the previous generation design, which already offered one of the smallest luggage areas in the executive estate segment. And all of this despite the fact that this 6th generation model is 60mm longer than the previous one. What on earth has Audi done with all that potential extra space? Well, whatever the answer, it's really cost this car in terms of its competitive luggage toting stats. especially when comparing against obvious sector rivals. If you want a sleek looking big estate, a BMW 5 Series Touring delivers that with 570 litres of space. If you don't, then a Mercedes E-Class estate will give you an enormous 615 litres of space and still deliver an aero figure which at 0.26 CD is only a fraction worse than that of this Audi. We should point out that the 503 litre capacity figure we've just given applies only to the conventional TFSI petrol variant, which has a reasonable amount of space beneath the floor. Now, as you can see, you don't get that with this diesel model. Mild hybrid editions here reducing the capacity figure to 466 litres. Predictably, it gets even worse if you go for the e-hybrid PHEV variant, which can only offer a mere 404 litres of space, less than a Honda Civic hatchback. Still, these sales figures suggest that customers in this segment don't care about any of that, and sure enough, there's probably as much room back here as you'd really need. A 1050mm load compartment width, allowing two large suitcases to easily be accommodated side by side. Helpfully, the load cover retracts electrically when the boot opens so that it doesn't get in the way. With this test car, there's a useful boot area rail system too. All the details you'd expect are present and correct. Slim LED lights and bag hooks left and right, a netted area on the left, a 12-volt socket on the right, and an inner tailgate with an integrated warning triangle and a light shining down to aid nighttime loading. There's also an impractically silver covered loading lip that will quickly scuff and scratch, and a 40-20-40 rear seat back split so that you can push down the middle section to take long items like skis in between two rear seated passengers. Activate the cargo sidewall catches and up to 1,534 litres of space becomes available with the TFSI variant. It's 1,497 litres with this TDI and 1,423 litres with the e-hybrid. Let's get to this A6 Avant model's pricing, pitched at the time of our test in autumn 2025 from around £54,000, just under £2,000 more than the equivalent A6 saloon. Both body shapes share the same familiar Audi trim levels: Sport, S-Line, which is what most customers choose, or as in this case, Top Edition 1. Both body shapes also share the same choice of engines, so let's brief you on those. Now, as we told you in our driving section, the core part of the lineup is based around a couple of 204 PS, 4-cylinder, 2-litre units. The base unelectrified petrol TFSI powertrain is front-driven, but the TDI diesel that we're trying here is significantly different in two ways. First, it has to be had with Audi's Quattro four-wheel drive system. And second, it comes with Audi's latest MHEV mild hybrid setup. These key additions, of course, mean a substantial price premium. In the case of this diesel, £4,270 over the base TFSI petrol power plant. If you want to be able to plug your combustion A6 model in, then even more money is required to have the brand's 2-litre TFSI petrol unit embellished with Audi's e-hybrid plug-in hybrid powertrain, which comes with Quattro four-wheel drive built in. Then the price premium for that will be more like £10,000 over an ordinary petrol A6, which then takes you to around the £65,000 price starting point of the car that was originally supposed to replace this combustion-powered A6 estate, the all-electric A6 Avant e-tron. But we'll assume that you're looking at this combustion-powered A6 Avant because, for whatever reason, you don't want an EV. So, what kind of value proposition are we talking about here compared to competitors? Well, as a potential customer, your first thought when it comes to likely alternatives will probably be to compare this Audi with equivalent combustion models from the Ingolstadt maker's two arch rivals in the premium part of this segment. Now, only one of these, the Mercedes E-Class estate, can be had with the same three-way choice of engine options as this Audi. For reference, as we filmed, that more spacious Merc cost nearly £6,000 more than this A6 in base E200 petrol form, around £2,000 more as a diesel and around £4,000 more as a petrol PHEV. Closer to the kind of executive estate this Ingolstadt model is trying to be is BMW's 5 Series Touring. That can't be had as a diesel, but is comparably priced to this Audi in base 520i petrol form and would save you around £1,700 as a PHEV. If you're prepared to consider an estate of this size with a less premium badge, then of course your options widen quite a lot. Most of the engineering here is shared by two other VW Group brand station wagons of this kind, estate versions of the Skoda Superb, which as we filmed was priced from around £42,000 in comparable petrol form, and the Volkswagen Passat. To get a Passat estate with the same conventional petrol unit as this Audi requires stretching to top spec and a price tag of just over £48,000. If though, having considered all of this, you conclude that there's nothing quite like an A6 Avant, then you'll need to know about standard specs, so let's take a closer look at that now. Base Sport trim gets you 18-inch 5 twin-spoke designed alloy wheels, matrix LED headlights with dynamic indicators and high beam assist, an acoustic windscreen, a powered tailgate, aluminium roof rails, a keyless entry digital key with an anti-theft alarm, power folding mirrors and LED rear lights pro tail lamps. Drive stuff includes adaptive cruise control, Audi Drive select modes, a Park Assist Plus system that automatically steers you into tight spaces, and progressive steering with a variable ratio depending on steering angles. Inside with Sport Spec, there's heated front sport seats in twin leather upholstery with 4-way lumbar support. You also get 3-zone automatic climate control, 30 colour ambient lighting, Audi Phonebox wireless charging for 2 phone handsets, and an 11.9-inch Audi Virtual Cockpit Plus instrument display. There's also the Ambient Lighting Package Plus ambient lighting setup. Infotainment's covered off by a 14.5-inch OLED touch high-resolution centre screen with an Android Automotive OS operating system. This includes 3D mapping and 3 years subscription for the many Audi Connect navigation and infotainment services, which include the Audi Application Store and screen themes. There's also a 10-speaker 180-watt Audi sound system and a rear view camera with a surround view camera display. The central screen also has the brand's latest Audi Assistant 2 voice control, which works with ChatGPT AI and puts you on speaking terms with numerous vehicle and infotainment functions, from adjusting heating to weather information. And you can control a lot of these features remotely via the My Audi app on your smartphone. This Android Automotive OS operating system offers regular over-the-air updates and numerous third-party apps, including Spotify, YouTube and news services. All of those can be downloaded from the incorporated Audi Application Store. To this tally, mid-level S-Line trim adds larger 19-inch platinum grey painted 5-arm alloy wheels, S-Line exterior styling, rear privacy glass and lowered sport suspension with a 20mm lower ride height. Inside with an A6 S-Line model, you get stainless steel pedals, a black cloth headliner, a bespoke S-branded flat top and bottom steering wheel, S-branded door trims and matte brushed aluminium interior inlays. The front sports seats are S-branded too. Want more as standard? Well, the top Edition 1 A6 Avant includes 20-inch 5-arm graphite grey gloss-turned alloy wheels with red brake calipers. There's a black exterior package with black roof rails and S Sport suspension. Inside with Edition 1 trim, you get upholstery in either Cascade cloth or a Dynamica microfiber and leather combination. And there's a 10.9-inch MMI front passenger touch display. On this Edition 1 Plus model, we've also got adaptive air suspension, power door latching, a headlamp cleaning system, a heated steering wheel, rear heated seats, a boot area rail system with load securing kit, 4-zone climate control, and 2 features that won't be available on any UK A6, all-wheel steering and digital OLED rear lights. What about options? Well, your Audi Centre is going to want you to consider paying the £2,650 extra fee for the Sound and Vision pack, which gets you some extra niceties. A head-up display, a dynamic interaction light under the windscreen, USB interfaces with a higher charging capacity, and a Bang & Olufsen premium 3D sound system, which with Edition 1 trim can also include front headrest speakers. You can also add a switchable transparency panoramic sunroof and 4-zone climate control. The air suspension we've been trying here is a £2,050 option with top spec trim. Now bear in mind that unless you order your A6 Avant with the only standard colour, solid Arcona white, you'll need to budget at least £775 more for your choice of paint shade. We've got metallic Ascari blue here. You can upgrade your wheels too, of course, with larger sizes becoming available as you spend more on trim. We've got the largest 21-inch Audi Sport multi-spoke twist black metallic rims here. As usual on all A6s, there's the option to add a tow bar. On to safety. This Audi's achieved the brand's usual 5-star Euro NCAP test showing with a rating of 87% for adult occupant protection, 88% for child occupant protection, and 78% for vulnerable road user protection. The 77% NCAP Safety Assist score reflects provision of a standard drive and park assistance package, which includes all the usual camera, driver assistance safety systems that you would expect. In this case, that means front emergency brake assist with vulnerable road user recognition, lane departure warning, intersection assist, swerve assist and turn assist, front cross traffic assist, and advanced driver attention and fatigue monitor, and traffic sign recognition that facilitates an intelligent speed limiter. There's a full range of passive safety kit, including tyre pressure loss indicators, and of course all the usual airbags linked to an e-call system. That includes front side airbags with a head airbag system and a front interaction airbag. With this top Edition 1 spec, you also get side assist blind spot monitoring, exit warning, that's to stop doors being opened in the face of oncoming traffic, emergency assist, that brings the car to a controlled stop if you're taken ill at the wheel, and proactive occupant protection front, side and rear, which braces the car if an impact is deemed inevitable, putting passengers in the best position to survive it. Plus, with Edition 1 trim, there's also rear side airbags. The slippery shape of this C9 era A6 Avant suggests that it might be an efficiency class leader, but even with all the spangly new engine tech fitted, it doesn't actually work out quite like that. As you'll know, if you've joined us in other sections of this review, we've got the TDI Quattro mild hybrid variant here, which records up to 54.2 mpg on the combined cycle and up to 137 grams per kilometre of CO2. And it seems like these official figures are close to achievable in everyday driving. Obviously, you'll do a little worse than that with the alternative unelectrified TFSI petrol version, up to 39.5 mpg and up to 162 grams per kilometre. Quite a gap in efficiency then, much of which is down to this C9 era TDI A6's new MHEV Plus mild hybrid system that we told you about in our driving section. You might remember that the previous C8 era A6 Avant had an MHEV mild hybrid setup too, but that had little discernible impact on efficiency. This replacement C9 model's MHEV Plus system is quite different, based on a 48-volt onboard electrical setup with an added powertrain generator that together are supposed to reduce CO2 emissions by up to 10 grams per kilometre. MHEV Plus also energizes an electric air conditioning compressor, which allows the air conditioning system to be operated when the vehicle is stopped at traffic lights or in traffic queues and the combustion engine is switched off. Now, all of this is welcome tech, but Audi clearly hasn't got it to work quite as well as similar mild hybrid systems do with rivals. A competing Mercedes E220d diesel mild hybrid estate, for instance, manages up to 56.5 mpg and up to 132 grams per kilometre. For a really frugal A6 Avant, you've to stretch to the e-hybrid petrol PHEV model, which, as we told you in our driving section, can go up to 63 miles on the combined cycle using its 25.9 kilowatt-hour battery, 20.7 kilowatt-hours of which is usable. That facilitates a weighted combined fuel consumption figure of up to 123 miles to the gallon and a weighted combined emissions figure of up to 52 grams per kilometre. These figures are virtually identical to what you'd get in a rival Mercedes E300e estate. Maximum AC charging power is 11 kilowatts, well down on the 55 kilowatts a rival Mercedes E-Class PHEV offers. There's no DC charging option. If the battery is completely empty, a full AC recharge to 100% takes around 2.5 hours. Brake energy recuperation performance has been significantly improved over the old generation C8 era A6 TFSI-E plug-in hybrid. Now the degree of recuperation intensity in electric driving mode, that's EV mode, can be adjusted to 3 different levels using paddles on the steering wheel. And the A6 e-hybrid runs on electric power for as long as possible to fully utilise the available battery charge to the driver's destination. The vehicle recovers energy automatically when this function is activated. That's based on route data stored in the navigation system. What else? Well, as you'd expect, you'll be paying the government's luxury car tax as the asking prices exceed £40,000. So the road tax charge will be £620 for years 2 to 6. Thereafter, it reverts to the standard £195 a year. The main reason you'd choose the e-hybrid variant would be to reduce your benefit in kind tax, which on the e-hybrid is rated at 16% as opposed to 37% for the TFSI petrol and 33% for this TDI Quattro diesel. We estimate that lower e-hybrid model BIK rating would save you about £1,800 in costs, though obviously you'd save even more if you went for the all-electric A6 e-tron Avant, rated at 3% at the time of our test. If it's an A6 Avant you want, you'll need to know about insurance groupings, which see the base petrol TFSI rated at Group 30, this MHEV diesel Quattro model at Group 36, and the e-hybrid PHEV at Group 40. The S-Line and Edition 1 variants sit a group higher than the base sports spec models. What about depreciation? Well, residuals are about 3% better than for an equivalent A6 saloon. After 3 years and 36,000 miles, you're looking at between 43 and 49%, with the TFSI petrol performing best, then this TDI, then the e-hybrid down at around 44%. These figures are similar to what you'd get from the BMW and Mercedes alternatives in this class. Like those 2 rival brands, Audi offers a 3-year warranty, but unlike those rival brands, Audi imposes a 60,000 mile limit on the period. It's unlimited mileage with a competing BMW or Mercedes. You have to pay quite a lot extra to extend the warranty, £2,000 more if you extend it to 5 years, and even then you're capped at 90,000 miles. What about ongoing maintenance? Well, there's a servicing section on the centre screen. As usual with Audi models, there's a choice of either a fixed or a flexible servicing regime. The choice between the two depending on the extent of your likely annual mileage. The fixed schedule is aimed at drivers covering fewer than 10,000 miles a year and includes an oil change service every 9,000 miles or every year, plus an inspection service every 19,000 miles or every 2 years. If you cover more than 10,000 miles a year, the flexible service schedule will be more appropriate. This regime including oil change and inspection services at variable intervals of up to every 19,000 miles or every 2 years. This, even BMW and Mercedes would reluctantly have to admit, is a beautiful piece of engineering. It always has been. The A6 Avant was, after all, the first car in its class to offer things like bonded in flush glazing, a galvanised body shell, V6 TDI power, four-wheel drive and advanced twin clutch automatic gearboxes. And in this improved, smart-suited 6th generation C9 series guise, the cleverness continues. An extra dose of visual charisma blended with high technology and premium quality, unsurpassed in this sector. This car's drawbacks, such as they are, don't appear to bother many potential buyers. No, it's still not the most spacious large executive estate in its class, but these days it's large enough for that not to matter. Yes, the extras, they can be expensive, but then that's the case with any premium executive car. And it's true that the handling still isn't especially aimed at driving enthusiasts, though you can go a long way towards sharpening it by ticking the right options boxes. This then is a very complete product, perhaps a fitting sign-off for the combustion A6 Avant model line, if that's what this C9 era design is. A thorough case, if ever there was one, of Vorsprung durch Technik.